Welcome back to Bitching and Moaning. We're excited you guys are joining us again. I am Patricia, and this is Stephanie. We are your Bitchin' and Moaning hosts this evening, this day, this morning, whenever you're listening to us.
Yes, whenever you're listening.
We are going to have a little deeper discussion today, so we brought out our vino.
Yes.
So, Stephanie, tell me what you have today.
So, I have something new.
Okay.
So, my husband and I were coming back from a trip to see family down in South Texas.
Okay.
And there is a little town called Hyco. And it's kind of halfway where we stop. Usually we'll eat. There's a little gas station there. But it has this little area in it, little like vendor area where you can buy some stuff. It's really cute.
Yeah.
And they have this little wine rack that's up there. And whenever we've gone, I've always wanted to try something. I thought, you know what? This is the best time to get one because we have our podcast for Drink the Wine. So this is by Fiesta Winery.
Okay.
It's called Skinny Dippin'. And
Skinny Dippin'.
yeah, I'm going to look at the bottle down here. We'll show you the bottle in a minute. But it's basically, it's hints of apple and full of aroma is what the label says.
Fun.
And it does taste kind of like an apple juice.
Okay.
But it's
those are the dangerous
light.
ones.
It's very, very light where it's like, it just kind of melts in your mouth.
Okay.
So, yeah, I never tried it before, and it's really good.
Oh, good.
And I have another one I bought, so I'll have to talk about that one next time. But
Okay.
I decided to go white because I usually go red.
I like the bottle. It's pink.
Yeah.
I love pink. Pink
Yeah.
is fuchsia is my favorite color, but
looks
it's
like-
very cute. Love
it
the
looks
bottle.
summery.
We're going to
right?
show it to you
Yeah.
guys here.
Yeah.
So I have my Messina Hoff. We're back on track with Messina Hoff. This one is actually a very special bottle. So Messina Hoff has several locations in Texas. And there is one in Fredericksburg, Texas. That's kind of a really cute one. Fredericksburg here in Texas is kind of like a German town. And so this particular one is called, let's see, Command Post, and it's a cab. But what's special about it is that it is, they partnered with the National Museum of the Pacific War. Pacific War. And what they do is that there's a museum down there in Fredericksburg from, World War II veterans, and all the bottles that are sold for this go directly to the museum.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
it keeps the museum going for the veterans and people to come visit and stuff. So it's really great. If I can't love them enough, now they're giving back. And they do that anyways. But I was just really excited when I went to the Messina Hoff in our local area. And when I saw these bottles, I'm like, wow, this is kind of strange. And then I had a tasting. They gave you free tastings. And I said, this is so good. And they're like, that's really my favorite bottle. And then he kind of told me the story about it. So I was like, oh my gosh.
That's so
I
cool.
love it. I love it. So I'm really excited about this, and it's really bold. I love bold, usually like Bordeaux's and stuff, which are a little heavier wines. But this is good. It's bold. It's got some spice to it, but it's a really good cab. And I think Cab Day was just a couple of days ago, so it's not too late. You got the weekend, So anyway, so that's what I got today.
All right, so cheers.
So cheers.
Whoops. Maybe it's time for me to have a really big drink.
So
what's your bitchin' for this week?
So my bitching this
Let
week.
me have it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I have a little bit of a deep bitching. We've talked in the past in our other episodes. We've kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm going to go a little deeper today of what I want to bitch about. It's been a long kind of emotional week for me. So I thought this was the perfect time to address this. So my bitch this week, and again, I am a woman of faith. I'm a Christian, but I'm kind of mad at God. I want to bitch about God today, and it's a touchy subject for me. I mean, I can't even talk sometimes. But so, why I want to bitch at God is how unfair sometimes I think He is, and where that comes from is He took my soulmate away from me, and that's how I see it. Somebody can say something else, it's genetics, it's this and that. To me, it really wasn't like that. It was just like, why did I get chosen? Why did he get chosen? Why did we get chosen for this to happen to us? So let me go back and explain how it all came about. I met my second husband on an airplane. I was going down for, I was going for a business trip, and it was kind of funny because I was waiting to get on the plane, and I saw this guy standing, I think he was on a trip to maybe Austin or something, and it was like a layover in DFW. And he got off the plane, and he was kind of stretching his legs, and I kind of saw him, and I'm like, oh, it wasn't like, oh my God, it was just, I was married, he was married, and it was just kind of like, wow, that's kind of interesting, he was well put together, Yeah. So then I get on the plane, and I sit down, and I was actually so happy to get on this plane because, mind you, I was working, I was going for a work trip. I had 3 young kids at home. It's like if you're a mom, you just need a break.
Yeah.
You just need a break. I had twins. I had my oldest. I just needed a break from everything. I was working full time. I'm a corporate trainer. That's what I was doing. And I just needed a break. And this was like, oh my God, okay, I still have to go to work, but it was just kind of like, wow, it's so nice to just get away and be me for a second,
sleep all night. Catch up on some rest and stuff.
Yeah, so I got on the plane, and sure enough, he sat next to me, and
it's like, what are the odds?
It was kind of funny because he sat down and he opened a newspaper. That's how long ago it was. A newspaper, right? Do we even have newspapers nowadays? But I'm, chatty patty, and there was no headphones back then. Yeah. There was no phones. There was none of that electronic stuff. You just talked to the people around you, And we started talking, and we did not stop for 2.5 hours, and it was just wonderful. We talked about our families. We talked about, we talked about everything. It was really, really great. And, from there, we just we became friends, and we had so much in common. I can't even, express, we just, I don't know, we were friends forever.
So what year was this?
It was early 2000s, mid 2000s. Okay. Yeah.
Before texting.
Before all that electronic stuff, And so that's why, when I go to places where you don't have to have your phones, it's kind of nice because you can talk to people, and it brings me back to that time where you can talk to just people. Anyway. But anyways, so we exchanged numbers. I think he was just kind of like, oh, you're in my city, and, I could show you around or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm here for work, right? And then we just started talking, and we didn't stop talking. That's all we did was talk for so long. I know it's kind of strange, but we became such close friends because we were going through similar situations in our life. And we were trying to support each other, well, have you tried this? Or have you tried that? And sometimes we were on the same page because our significant others weren't trying things to make things better, And, so anyway, we kind of spent a couple of, times together, lunch or whatever. And then I think that's where our friendship and our relationship just continued when I came back home. I was in that area for several weeks, and but I didn't really think of it as anything. I just thought, well, I live here in Texas and he lives in Wisconsin, and so we just have a long friendship, right?
Yeah.
So
kind of a confidant.
Yeah, and again, just trying to see if we can help each other get through what we were dealing with at home, I know that doesn't make sense to a lot of people. You should probably be talking to your spouse about all that. But if you're in that situation, it's different. And you might not understand it until you are in that situation. And so anyways.
Well, it depends on how your spouse is going to react to you when you're trying to talk about deeper and harder things. Or are they going to get angry at you? Or are they just going to leave and shut down? It's like you don't know what their reaction is going to be. And then the actions, do they look like they're wanting to change or work through things or make it better? So I think it's kind of hard sometimes to, depending on what the reaction will be, is how much you want to open up.
Right.
And having an objective person there that doesn't know anything is like, okay, let me see what they have to say, because maybe there's something that's valuable in there. I go, oh, you have an aha moment.
Right.
And I can take that back in and see if that makes a difference. So.
Exactly. And if you listen to any of our, our past podcasts, I mentioned I wasn't priority in my marriage at that time that I felt for my husband. I just didn't feel it. Like, he chose other things to be more for priority for him, and that's just how I felt. And here this person is talking to me, just like, it wasn't even deep stuff. It was just stuff, you know? Anyways, so fast forward, and I think we kind of talked about this in one of the other podcasts, but I was kind of done with my marriage, and I was trying to figure that out, and he had decided he wanted to be done with it. She didn't want to go to therapy. Again, this is what I was told. She didn't want to go to therapy. They had 2 daughters. One was disabled, and it was a tough situation. And that's why I was like, are you sure? Try to work this out. And it just wasn't going anywhere. And you can't control the people's relationships.
Right.
It's just, that's how it was, And so I decided that I, was going to end mine. And he said he wasn't going to end his because he couldn't leave his kids. He had a job in Wisconsin. And I said, that's okay. You don't have to leave. This is what I want to do with my marriage. And so then, I think I told you guys what happened. My ex was pretty rough on me. And then as far as like the emotional aspect of it, and then he actually was able to move to Texas, but he was able to move to Austin, Texas. And Austin is about 3 hours from us. And we're like, okay, well, we'll see if we can make that work, And
so when did it change from being like a confidant relationship to something else? Because at some point y'all had to decide when you wanted to make it a relationship.
Right.
So how far into that did that happen?
I'll be honest, it was sooner than later. I think because we were close. And again, I said this in my last podcast, I apologized. I asked for forgiveness, not only from my family and friends, but from my church, because I was heavily involved in church. I went to my pastor. I said, how do I handle this? Again, no excuses. I take full responsibility for what I did. But I think it was just kind of like the way my ex was treating me and the way his ex was treating him. Yeah. We found comfort in each other, and we decided, like, how did we not feel this before? Like, it was just kind of this magical thing. It was crazy. And call it whatever you want, but it was just so incredible. And so we just, again, I decided that I was going to leave. He decided he was going to be able to move, but to Austin. And so I'm like, oh my God. So that's when I went through my whole divorce thing, and he was there with me because he had gotten his divorce first. It was horrible. And she loved every freaking minute of it. She was really rough on him and torturous for him, and she loved it. And my ex loved putting me through hell. Right. We talked about that too. Yeah. So they were in their little glory, but we knew what the outcome was going to be and how happy we were going to be, and we were going to fight through it. And so I mentioned in the other podcast where, I fought for my kids, and I fought to try to move to Austin, and none of that. Like, I got my kids, we were 50-50, but I was not able to move to Austin. Yeah. Now, again, he worked in Austin. He could not move here. And so he had kids, and I'm a mother first and foremost. And when he couldn't move here, I couldn't be like, well, that's it, it's done. You're not moving here. He had a family to take care of, and I understood that. Regardless of what you think of my situation of what I did. I understood that his kids were his life too. And I respected that. Even when he said he was trying to move here, I'm like, you know, what about your kids? Or, you know, because I know how I wouldn't leave my kids. And so I respected all that. And of course they didn't know that because his ex told him so many different things about me, that I was the devil and I did this and I wanted to take their father away from him. And that was far from the truth. And what's really strange is that, you know, I'm still pretty close with one of his daughters. His other daughter does not speak, but she's beautiful, and his oldest daughter's beautiful too. And I'm so grateful that I still have a relationship with them till this day, or to, you know, the oldest. And she had written him a letter. She had written him a letter that she hated him.
Oh no.
That she was so mad that I was around and all that. But again, I think she was really going off what her mom was saying to her. So you kind of have to understand. She was, you know, a teenager, and
had she met you at that point?
She had met me, because sometimes I would go with, like, now we're going through the divorce, and you know, sometimes I would go with him on their visit, and I think it upset her. Rightly so. But I think he wanted her to understand, like, where I fit into their life, you know.
Yeah.
But you're a teenager. You're just like, I just want my dad.
Yeah.
I get that 100%. I never blamed her for anything like that, and I totally respected, you know, her view on it. And the letter killed him. He was just like, you know, I mean,
I can't even imagine.
You know, it was just kids. No, and we never wanted that. He just, you know, it was kind of sad, and so then, anyways, fast forward, we both get divorced. I can't move. He can't move here. And then he thinks about it for a couple months, I guess. And then he's just like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do long distance, you know.
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh my God. I have to have a drink on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. It's because I had met him in 2009. We had went up to Chicago for kind of a girl's birthday trip to somebody you knew up there, and we ended up lunch, I think like the next day or whatever after the birthday party. We met with some of your people that you had for that business trip, right? That you'd went up there, and then he was there, but I didn't really know who he was at the time. And then, but that was my first meeting of him.
And again, it was one of those things, like, you just wanted to keep it close to you, you know. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to drag anybody into my crazy world.
Yeah, you had a lot going on at that time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes perfect sense. But I was happy I got to meet him back then.
Yeah, definitely. We had a good that's going to be a good conversation, that little episode. But we had a lot of fun, and so so then he said, I can't do this, and I was so mad. I was so mad. I'm like I said in the previous podcast, you know, my ex put me through hell because I put him through hell. So he wanted to get back at me because of the kids. You know, he wanted to take the kids away from me, and because of this guy. And so he just wanted to put me through hell. And he did. And then now he's like, I'm done. And I'm like, are you crazy? Not only did I get put through hell, my kids did. And his kids too. And all that's circling your head, and I'm just like...
But it wouldn't have changed the outcome. You still would have went through what you did with your girl's dad.
You're right. I would have.
It's like, that still would have happened regardless of him being in the picture. You could have met him 5 years down the road.
Right.
So
you're right. I would have. I still would have.
For y'all to be together, but it was just the timing of, you know,
just because
you had to go through what you had to go through.
Yeah, just because I experienced that love, and again, nothing with my ex. It was just different, and so then I was pissed, and I'm just like, all right, we just cut everything off and whatever. And he went on with his life. I went on with my life, devastated.
Yeah.
You know, my kids were pretty like, what the hell happened? You know, whatever. So then I met somebody, a really nice guy that I worked with, just kind of like hanging out with him. And so every year, here's something, every year we used to go to the Byron Nelson golf tournament. That is something that happens here in Texas every year. And it's a pretty big deal.
Big deal,
It's a very big deal. And we used to go every year. He was a golfer. And so it comes around in May. And so, all of a sudden, like, he starts sending me a note saying, oh, I'm going to be in town for the Byron Nelson. Like, you just tore my life apart, but you want me to meet you for a drink at Byron Nelson? I was like, F you, But you know what? Because I was in this relationship with this other person, and I thought maybe this can, move forward, because he was a great guy. I'm like, I want closure.
Yeah.
I want to see him face to face, and I want closure on this, and I want to tell him how I feel, and So I decided to meet him, and I met him, and I was like a little nervous, and he came in like nothing, like we were buds, and I'm like, you are out of your freaking mind.
That's a guy thing, I think, where they can like separate a situation and then act like something is not even wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Not us.
No, I went in with a mission, and I sat there and I told him how I felt. I told him what he put us through and how he could just cut things off. And I'm like, I'm done. And I walked out, and he walked out behind me. He's like, what? Like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm very serious. Goodbye. And that was it.
Yeah.
So I felt I had my closure. I can move on. And I think that freaked him out.
Yeah.
Because I think he really realized, wow, it is done. Excuse me. So then I start getting like text messages, because now we're up to text message life, right? We're in 2012 or whatever. Text message life, social media's life, whatever. And I'm getting text messages. Oh, I thought about you today. I saw this. I'm a sign person. Like, oh, you see a sign of something and it reminds you of somebody else. And he would be like, oh, I just saw this and it made me think of you. And then, oh, this and that, like constantly. And I would ignore them. And then I got a card, because St. Patrick's Day, I love St. Patrick's Day. I can't wait till St. Patrick's Day comes around and we can be all dressed in green and, green beer. We're going to have green beer. But St. Patrick's Day is just a great time for me. I love it. And here I got the St. Patrick's Day card from him, and I'm like, no more. Oh, I think it was that. But then he was like, it was he was at he had his boat out, and he was at a party or some shit like that. And he's like, I just can't stop thinking about it. I'm like, okay. So I text him like, you need to stop. You need to stop. I don't want to hear from you. You broke my heart. I'm done. He's like, I am not done. And I was like, what? And he's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get you back. And I was like, wow. And it just, my head just started, I was crying. I just kind of flipped. I'm like, what the hell? And from the point we broke up to that was probably 6 to 8 months. It was a while. And then, so then I said, if you're coming back, it needs to be permanent, and we need to make something happen. Yeah. There's no more coming back for half-ass shit. Not after everything you put us through. And so he said, I will make that happen. So he came back, and then couple months later, probably I think it was September, he took me to Miami, which is my favorite place. Yeah. With he didn't tell me we were going there. He just said, you're getting on a plane. I bought you an outfit for every day we're there. Aww. And I have surprises, I'm like, okay. So we ended up in Miami. And it was a beautiful hotel. It was right on Ocean Avenue. And he brought me not only an outfit for a bikini for every day.
You love bikinis. They're your favorite.
Snacks. He bought me snacks. He bought me my favorite wines, champagne. And then after a couple of days, he put a diamond ring in a Louis shoe. Red bottom shoes, if you don't know what Louis are. And he gave it to me, and
the rest was history.
That was it. That was like, oh my God. It was, and we were like, however we need to make it work, we were going to make it work. And I mean, it was just magical.
Right.
I can't, even now, I just it just,
Well, I could see y'all together, and there was something very different about this. Y'all were just very connected on a level I hadn't seen you with anybody else before.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that you can't explain. When you say soulmate, it's hard to put into a word what that is. It's just like a piece of you was missing. You just feel like a whole person.
Yeah. And you have your person.
Yes,
and
I get to tell my story.
Yeah, you're
going to
tell your story.
It's a over many years story.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was just something that was very different, and it was beautiful to see.
It was. It was amazing. And I mean, from there, it was just only up. It was like, oh my God, we were on cloud 9, and we had to figure out how to address everybody else in the world. Because like when we were together, nobody existed.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you?
Yeah.
Like, it was just always just us. Like we could be in a crowded room. We could be on a beach. We can be anywhere. It was just always us. And we could never stop touching each other. We had anywhere, if we were near each other, we had to touch each other. And I'm not talking like, grabbing
holding
a boob or anything. I'm just saying,
sitting on a chair, he puts his hand on your leg or something.
Just amazing. I just wish, everybody can experience that. And now, mind you, nothing's perfect in life. That was perfect for me, but we had fights, we had arguments, we had disagreements. We are human beings. I'm saying that did happen, but everything else was just magical for me. And so we got engaged, and we decided that we were going to he was actually able to move to my area here because his job let him work from home kind of thing now. So I was like, oh my God, that's wonderful. He could still take care of his family, and we can be together, and we can be together with my kids because, he became their stepdad, which he was an incredible stepfather to them. And we started building a home, like our forever home, beautiful, beautiful home that not only my kids, but his kids can come to. And we were planning a destination wedding. Yeah. I mean, just magical stuff. And you were so nice to give us the bridal or the shower.
You a shower.
That was so great.
Yeah,
I love that.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had all our friends and family and stuff there. And his ex was never going to make it easy on us ever, because just like my ex was, a man scorned, a woman scorned, and he always felt bad about, but he was a good father. He went back and saw them every month and took care of his daughters to 100%, and he actually took care of her too because she didn't work. So we had to pay for all of that too. That's what happens. Like, exes try to get you with where it hurts. I think I said that before. Mine was my kids. For her, it was money, and she loved that. She took every advantage of that. But anyways, so we get married, we move into our home. Yeah. It's wonderful. Oh my God.
Yeah. So the one thing I don't have very many regrets in my life, but there is something to be said that when important things happen with your friends, to always be there.
Yeah.
And I have apologized to you immensely because
I know.
Because it was your wedding to Rob and what y'all had went through, I couldn't be there. And I don't remember if it was my kids had an event or I had to work or whatever it was at the moment. It's like, because of how the situation turned out, I should have been there. Yeah, but you don't know, right?
Yeah.
You don't know how life is going to turn out. But I really feel like I missed out on that piece of your story. And, life happens. You can't predict certain things are going to happen where you can't be in an event or whatever.
Right.
But I always think about that with all the pictures, and I'm like, we need to Photoshop me somewhere just in the back,
Yeah. But, that's funny that you say Photoshop, because, like, I wanted his disabled daughter to come to the wedding. I loved her. I still love her like she's my own. And, I do, both of them. They're such good girls and women, good women. But I wanted her to come to the wedding. We would have done everything to make it accessible to her, for her. his ex would not let her come.
Because you got married, where was it, the Bahamas?
St. Thomas.
St. Thomas, yeah. So she would have had to travel pretty far to be there. And,
but we would have accommodated everything, that would have meant the world to us, but we respected that. So we thought the next best thing was we were taking family pictures and pictures of the kids together and whatever. And so we took pictures of her and, because I had my girls stand up and my stepdaughter. And I thought it would just be appropriate to have my other stepdaughter in all of our pictures. And so we took pictures of her in the dresses that they were in. And I thought, okay, well, let's kind of Photoshop her in there just so that it's a family picture. Oh my God. I got so much hate for that from whoever, some whacked out job, probably one of her friends. But, how dare I do that? I'm like, what do you mean?
This is her dad.
This is her dad, exactly. And what kind of stepmom or what kind of person would I be not to want to have her part of it? However, I could have her part of it.
They're a package deal. So,
I don't think they understood that I love those girls to this day like they were my own. And so fast forward, move in, everything's great, whatever. We're living our greatest life, his kids, our kids. And that was in July. And then fall comes and he starts getting this cough. Here in Texas, in the winter time, we have something called cedar, the cedar that comes off the trees. And it's really bad for allergies. And he was really allergic to that. He would kind of puff up and all that. So we thought he was just coughing because of allergies and whatnot, And that went on for a couple of months, through winter and then through the beginning of the year. And we're like, he was coughing so much that his back was hurting.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? And
I remember that.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, because he was taking allergies. He went to the doctor. It's allergies, So then we're up to almost February, and we're like, okay, this isn't stopping.
Right.
We even went up north to see his daughter. She was going to a university up there and we went to go see her and he was even coughing there. Yeah. And so February comes around and he's like, I can't take this anymore. I'm in so much pain. My back is hurting from coughing so much. My shoulder was hurting. And mind you, we exercised all the time.
Yeah, he played racquetball too, right?
Played racquetball. We worked out. We played racquetball together. And he's like, my shoulder hurts, la, la, la. So
I thought maybe he hurt his shoulder playing racquetball. That's what I remember. Originally, that's what y'all thought it was. Maybe he pulled something.
Yes. So finally, he says, I need some kind of x-ray, MRI, something of my shoulder. Or my back, whatever. And he's like, well, how about my shoulder too? So I had just started a new job. I was in training myself. And he went to the doctor, got a whole MRI from an orthopedic doctor. And he calls me and he says, I have cancer. And I was like, what? It's like, it doesn't seem real. It doesn't, it's like, no. What?
No.
It didn't seem real. And I said, I have to go. I went home. And he was in shock. And he showed me, we got the x-rays and all the MRI. And his whole back lit up like a Christmas tree.
Wow.
And his shoulder too. So he had all down his back. And we just cried. I think we just sat there and cried. We were in shock. It didn't seem real.
Right.
What this isn't our life. What's happening? Are we being punished? What was going on, And so then we're just like, all right, we're going to deal with this. And we did. That was in March that he got that diagnosis. Initially, they said it was melanoma, which is kind of strange. Skin cancer.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we got to do biopsies and whatnot. So we did a biopsy and oh my God. I mean, mind you, his ex didn't work. So we supported her financially. His daughter was in college. It was just, we were supporting everybody at this time, right? My kids were in, I don't know if they were in even high school yet, middle school, high school, whatever they were in. So once he found out he had cancer, we had to hire a lot of attorneys, which was very costly. I think we had 4 or 5 attorneys. We had a few here. We had a few in Wisconsin, just to make sure that, you know, things were taken care of. And he had to have a biopsy. And I think what ended up happening was the biopsy told us that it was actually sarcoma, which is bone cancer.
Yeah.
Stage 4.
And I think that's what was so surprising when you told me about that, because he had like a few symptoms, and then it was like all the way to here. And it's like, usually there's a progression when you see with cancer and they're able to catch things. And because he was so healthy, it was so surprising that it was stage 4 and it was to his bones. And I think that's, I know y'all were like in shock, but from my point of view, I was as well, because I'm like, how does it get to that point when you don't have these other symptoms, or it's not noticeable like years before or something? It was really, really surprising.
It was crazy, to say the least. But I was going to do everything in my power to get him any kind of treatment he wanted, needed, whatever. And I did. I called every hospital, the Mayo Clinic, Vanderbilt. Here we have Memorial Hermann. I mean, I was just calling what's the best treatment for this. And sarcoma is very tough because it eats away at the bones. So even if you do chemo or radiation or whatever, you know, and he did chemo, but it just took a toll on him. Took a toll, and he was sick more than he was, you know,
I think you told me he had just got to the point where he's like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this anymore. It was
so tough. Like, I just hated seeing him. He lost so much weight.
Yeah.
And we actually brought his daughter down for the summer because, again, you know, this happened in the spring, and we brought his daughter down. I'm like, you probably really need to be here, his oldest daughter, because I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. And so she came down for the summer, which I think I'm so grateful for her coming down and spending time with him and doing a lot of things that he wanted to do. And we kind of went full-fledged. I think some of his friends came to visit him as well.
Yeah, you had like a fuck cancer party. I remember
did.
that. And he had
his cancer.
His friends there.
Yes.
He had family there.
We had a
big
party.
It was a really big party.
And you know, we did a lot of stuff because, again, we just weren't sure what was going to happen. And then when his daughter was down here, he finally said, I just can't do this anymore. And the doctors had told us if he continued it would be a 1% chance of living. And I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, please just do that 1%.
Yeah.
But we couldn't make that decision for him.
Right.
I'm also one that believes that your body is your body and nobody should tell you what to do with it. And it was his body and he didn't want to do it anymore. So I'm like, okay. And I know it was tough for his daughter. His daughter was 19 at the time. And it was tough for both of us to go through that. But we said, okay, we're going to make the best of it while we can. And we did. So he got diagnosed in March, and by October, I lost him.
Yeah, it was fast. Yeah, it was just one of those, you know, going back to your bitching about, because I can have the same bitch a little bit differently, just because for good people, you see it all the time, a car accident or somebody gets cancer, and they're such a good person. And it's like, this shouldn't be happening to good people. The bad people that are just evil or whatever should be getting all the karma. That's exactly
my bitch. That's exactly my bitch.
It's just not fair. Because it's, how do you process that? Everything you went through to finally be together. And then,
10 years. It took us 10 years to be together.
And then it's taken away for, in my opinion, no reason. There was no reason that should have happened.
And that's kind of where I go back to God. I'm like, you know, because I'm a Christian, I'm like, oh God, you know, and you kind of think about, like, was he punishing me? Was he punishing us because of what we did? But I don't want to think that way. I want to think that, you know, okay, genetics, whatever it was, he was under so much stress all the time. His job was very stressful. His ex was very stressful to him, whatever. It was bad. And sometimes I'm going to tell you guys this. If you are stressed out, do not find a way to get rid of that stress, because the doctor, I even asked the doctors, I'm like, is this part of just keeping all that inside of you? And it does. It eats away at you. So find a way to relieve your stress. Meditate. Go to a therapist. Scream. Eat. Whatever you need to do. I don't care.
Yeah.
That stress really weighed on him, and it ate away at him. And I'm sure there's other things too, but needless to say, I did lose him. It was the most horrible thing I've ever been through in my life, continue to go through. And like, why I'm bitching about, I'm going to bring it back real quick, but why I'm bitching is because this week we had to empty some storage spaces, and I have a lot of his stuff in there. And I literally opened up a box, and it was his clothes, and the smell, I just lost it. I cried. I freaked out. My body was hurting from moving anyways. I'm just like, why do I have this life? Why? This isn't my life. Now, I love my husband now. He's a wonderful man. I will love him forever. It doesn't change the fact that I still think sometimes, why didn't I have that life that I wanted for the rest of my life? So that's why I'm mad. That's why I'm bitching at God. But that's kind of my story.
Well, and grief is messy. It hits you in the face when you're least expecting it. And I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that. It could be 50 years from now, and they smell something or they see something and it smacks them in the face. And so I think those moments are so natural, and you just accept them because that's all part of that. And I think you feel how much you loved them because of how much you hurt, I think. So, yeah, but I just looked at my glass, and I think I need to fill up since I'm a little bit empty here. So I'll lean over. Here's my little wine bottle. How cute is that? I'm gonna set that down on there. So just make sure I get a little more in the glass. There we go. All right.
Yeah. So we were talking about me losing him, and which was devastating, and I didn't know what to do. I was just like, where does my life go now? What happens? It was pretty, let me just go back a little bit, because when he was sick, I was going through other things. So around the same time he got diagnosed, my mother accidentally fell and she broke her hip. So let me remind you, I just started a job. My husband just got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and my mother fell and broke her hip.
Wow, that's a lot.
And I'm kind of more the caregiver in my family. I have 2 sisters, and they're great. But they were working. My one sister lived up north at the time. My other sister lived here. She was really busy working. Not that she would, do anything for my mom, but I just kind of took more of the role of the caretaker. And so my mom was in one hospital. My husband was in another hospital. So I would get up early, try to go have breakfast with one of them. At lunchtime, I'd go to the other one, and then after work, I'd go to another one, know? And it was like, I just needed to keep my job because we didn't know if his job was going to take care of the bills or what, It was rough and draining. You're trying to save your husband. You're trying to make sure your mom's okay. You're trying to make sure your job's okay. And I have kids. And I have 3 kids on my own, right? Yeah. It was torture all around, and it was so sad. It was so sad, but it's like back to my mom taught us to be strong, taught us to get, you do what you have to do, you get through it and whatever. And honestly, I think I was a little upset too, because I thought, why isn't his family coming to help us? His parents were retired. His brother was a coach, and they got out of school in June or whatever. I just thought, like, why aren't they coming down to help?
Right.
I didn't understand that. And I can't say what other people do in life. I just tell you, again, my perspective. I'm just like, God, I just need help, So they finally did come down and help. And unfortunately, the time they spent with us was not a good time, And again, they were losing a child too. So I understand that.
They were grieving in their own way.
But it just seemed like they were pitting us against each other in his last days. And I didn't get it. And we were starting to fight, because of what was happening. We had talked about everything. We had talked about where he was going to be buried, what we were going to do. Again, inseparable. So he was wanting to stay down here. He wanted to be buried in Texas and all that. And then all of a sudden I come home from work one day and he tells me, I think I'm going to, go to Wisconsin and stay there and be buried there. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And, I think his mom suggested it. And then she said, he said it. I'm like, no, that wasn't the plan. Like, we had literally our plot, the cemetery, everything was arranged. I just didn't get all that. So, sad enough to say that it did cause a rift between me and his family, not his daughter, but his parents, which we were really close at one point in time. And I feel sad about that because they are really good people and his family has always been great. It just was a really weird situation for the two of us. Once they left, we were back to just him and I and our connection. And and I'm so glad that they left because it didn't last much longer that he was around. So I wanted us to be together when he left, So eventually his other family came down, his brother came down, they spent time together. And at the end, they all kind of came down. And we had agreed that, when he did pass, it wasn't going to be in our home. Because I don't think I could have, it was bad enough. And so I laid with him. And, it was so sad because, like, you can't touch them. Their body hurts.
Yes.
They're in so much pain.
Everything is heightened. They say, like, even talking and laughing is painful to someone that's in that state.
It was so sad. It was so sad. Like, you become this caretaker. And remember, we couldn't stop. When we slept together, our bodies had to touch each other. And now the touch hurt him. And it was just... And he would cry, and I would cry, and I'd just be like, I'm still here, 100%. And so when everything was said and done, and I went through all that, I really hate to say it, but like, I wanted to go with him. I didn't. I know that's horrible. I had children, but I didn't want to be here without him.
Right.
And I remember one day I was just on my couch and I was just like crying and crying and crying, and my sister came over and I was just like I don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
I don't. I just want to go. And my older sister's like, stop talking like that. Stop talking like that. You have kids. You have to be here. I know. It's just awful. It was like the worst. I just, you kind of just give up, and she's like, no, you can't give up. You have to be here. And so it was, kind of like snap out of it moment, Did you ever watch that? I think it's Moonstruck with Cher. She's like, snap out of it. It was kind of like that, and she's like, you have to get it together. And
well, I remember at the funeral, it's like I had gotten there late because I was coming from work, I believe, and so you were already at the front. I didn't want to come barging into service. Here I come running, get on my seat. I need to sit by my friend. But I remember I waited till the end to talk to you because I wanted to be the last person you saw in that moment. And hugging you, I remember you say, "What are we gonna do now?" And it was just one day at a time. That's all we can do, and is go from there, is take it one day at a time. And one thing you will never hear me say to someone who's grieving, regardless of the type, if I have a parent or a sibling, a spouse, I will never tell someone who is in that same situation, I know exactly how you feel, because no, you don't.
No.
Your dad may have passed, but that was my daddy. Your husband may have passed, but that's not my husband. I wasn't in your relationship. So I think there's a lesson there. It's like, I know good intentions come behind that when people say, I know how you feel. They're just trying to say, I can empathize. My heart hurts for you for that. But
sorry for your loss. That is the best thing to say. Just sorry for your loss.
I'm here for you.
Exactly.
If you need anything, I'm praying for you. You're in my thoughts. I mean, anything like that, because everybody's struggle through that feels so different, no matter if it's the same person has that. And so I think that's what we did. We just took it one day at a time and one breath at a time, and you finally process things the best you can. But like I said, grief is messy, and it bites you in the butt at the weirdest times when you're not expecting it.
And even after that, there was still times like I would message you, or I would message my friends, or like how are you doing? And I'm like, it's a bad day. I can't. To this day, I still feel that way. Like I will have a bad day. Something can come over me. My signs, I can think of something. I continue to go to the grave site to see him, which again, I'm going to talk about my husband now. Like, I wouldn't have married my husband now if he didn't understand that this person made me who I am to love somebody. I was 50% of something incredible, and I'm still that person. I still have dreams. I still have things I want to accomplish, and my husband now understood the assignment. He understood that this is what I come with.
Right.
And if you can't accept that, then I can't be with you. And that's probably, the guys that I dated in the past, I just didn't see that with them.
Right.
But I see that with him. He respects what I had with him, and doesn't judge it, doesn't get mad or upset about it. The anniversary dates of things, the anniversary of his death, his birthday, all that kind of stuff. I am still at that, grave site, because that's where I can talk to him, tell him about how his kids are doing, his girls are doing, how my kids are doing, And my husband now respects that, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
And I think it's amazing. I look at him with so much respect because of that, because there's a lot of men, I think why it didn't work out with everybody, it's like, well, I'm the number one person now, I have to be your number one person, and they don't understand, this is a death. This is not like a divorce.
Exactly.
Right?
Very, very different.
And the fact that he allows you to still, do what you need to do.
Right.
Be at the graveside on those days like that, I think is very commendable, and I respect him a lot for that, because I could see where that would be difficult.
Here's to my new husband.
Yes. You got a good one. Yeah.
He's a good one.
Yeah, he's a good one. And so
So let's go back to my bitching. So I just think that wasn't very fair. So God, I'm a little mad at you this week. I will be okay, and I will always have that. I did want to mention another thing. I mentioned that his oldest daughter was pretty upset in the beginning. I guess, because she was younger, she didn't really understand the whole thing. But I think what brought it home for me was, as we continue to talk, even after he passed, and, talk now, she's just an amazing woman. And she had been with somebody for quite some time, like through high school and through college, and we kind of all thought that was the person for her. He's a good kid, good man. I know she loved him dearly. I know he loved her dearly, and we talked about people being in your life for seasons, a time.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened with him, even though he was a great, good kid, whatever. But I remember saying to her once, we were texting, and I said, hey, how's it going? You know, you're getting out of college now. Are we talking wedding, whatever?
Yeah.
And then she had told me that it was over between them.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow, I really just thought that, you know, they'd been together so long. And she said to me, you know, he was a great guy and we had a great relationship, but I want what you and my dad had. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. It was like a full circle moment. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. And I love that. I love that. I love that she saw that. I love that she got to experience it, because initially it was just so bad. Yeah. And now she's married and she's so happy and she's doing so great, and I'm so proud of her. I'm proud of all of our kids, you know. And so
I think those moments with your kids, they don't understand, or they see it a certain way, and once they've had time to process it, and plus when you're older and mature and you really think about things, they see it differently, and it's like those become the best compliments you can ever get, because you just never know, when you make decisions or things happen, you know, is that going to be a good thing? And then in that situation,
I love it. I love that she's so happy. I love that our kids are happy who they married and who they're possibly going to marry. And so I am very happy. But that goes back to the fact that I don't regret not, you know, I don't regret my divorce, because I got something that, you know, people dream about, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I do hope all you out there, I hope you get to experience that love and that joy, you know, in your life. Sometimes it doesn't have to be through a person. Sometimes it could be through anything else. You know, maybe there's a career that you're passionate about, and that is, you know, what you feel like you're going to succeed in, and you're just happy about it, you know, and or it could be somebody, but that was what I experienced, and I will never regret any of that. So, however, I'm still, you know, a little upset at God, but I will get over it. That was my bitching. I know that was kind of a long story about it, but that was what I was bitching about this week. And do you have anything you want to bitch about? Or?
Well, you know, I kind of said a little bit earlier, it was like, you know, bitching along kind of with your topic, mentioned that, you know, it's like I just don't, it makes me angry to understand a higher purpose when those things happen. It just makes no sense to me, and I just don't get it. Yeah. I don't ever see, you know, things happen for a reason. There's some things that go, that had no reason behind it, and your situation is one of those. But, you know, I kind of have the opposite, like where I didn't really get mad at God per se, because, and we'll talk about, my dad died, he had Parkinson's, and when he passed, I wasn't mad at God per se. It would have been selfish for me to pray for him to keep him here, because Parkinson's is awful to watch. It's basically paralyzing yourself where you can't speak. You're very rigid. I remember my dad, after a while, he would just be like, you know, his mouth is hanging open and just very stoic. And it's like, why would I ever want my dad to be here? So selfishly, I wanted him to be here. But I wasn't mad at God when he took him away, because now he's rejoicing in heaven and living his best life. So that was probably an instance where I wasn't mad. Yeah. But I've had times where I've been mad too, going, because it just doesn't make sense. But that was kind of, it was an odd feeling, because I didn't really go through all the stuff that led up to that. When you think of grief, I just went, I was in the depression. I went from Daddy passed to being depressed. And so we'll go into that more in another episode. There's a lot to talk about there, and how you deal with death, because, you know, we could go a little bit deeper into your story, and mine's pretty deep. So yeah, but I guess, you know, mine goes along with your, I just don't get it when it happens to good people. It just, I guess it's not a mad thing. It's like, I just don't understand it. There is, to me, no higher purpose. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, you can think of a lot of things, like, what was that mass shooting that they did in, what state was that? Was it Minnesota? I hope I don't get the state wrong.
Yeah, the Catholic.
But it's like, what purpose was that? There is no lesson learned from that when two 8-year-old children died. What purpose was that? And I don't understand God's purpose for that. And so I get angry in that because that is senseless and evil, and
I know.
And I know there's evil out there. Maybe that was just the evil side of things, but God has a purpose for that. That I get tired of hearing that because there's just some things that I just don't see that is God's purpose.
Right.
The devil has a purpose, probably is more the reason for that. But yeah, there's just things don't make sense to me.
Well, I want to say to all of those out there that are dealing with cancer or any kind of sickness, we are definitely praying for you.
Yeah.
And I want you to fight the good fight and know that there's so much new medical technology, medical stuff that is out there.
Yeah.
And, research it, do it. I have friends that have cancer right now or have also beaten cancer, which I'm so glad for them. I think it's wonderful, that you can go through that and beat it, and I think it's great. I'll be honest, sometimes I get a little jealous. I just get like, damn, why couldn't we beat it? Why wasn't there something out there that could help us beat that?
Yeah.
But I don't blame anybody. I just get a little upset because it felt like my life was taken away from me, But I do think that it's wonderful that there are things up and coming, medically that can help people. So I'm praying for y'all.
Yeah.
And I'll get over my anger with God. Today, again, this week was very rough. The storage stuff, the pictures. I still have all, it's stuff.
It's a lot, yeah.
But, so that's my bitching. I know that was a long one. Quick moaning. You got any moaning?
No, I can't think of any moaning off the top of my head. I think I'm okay with the moaning.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just have one quick one. I'll just say the freaking moving shit.
Yeah.
I was moaning for 2 days. My back was on fire. My back was hurting so bad, Oh my God. Okay. I'm young Chippy. I shouldn't be hurting like that. But that was my moaning. I moaned for a couple of days. I feel I feel a lot better today. I feel a lot better about a lot of stuff, but I appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah. I do have a moan just popped into my head because we talked about it earlier, and it's so I'm gonna moan right now. So if anybody's watched the freaking news, has seen that Micah Parsons is now with the Green Bay Packers.
That's her moaning.
My moan is like a guttural, right? Because we talked about football last time.
Yeah.
We didn't know if what was going to happen, and that happened. I'm like, to my point, they're making it so hard to be a fan when you love these players. And I'm like, somebody like that, they have demonstrated they have earned the money. Just pay them the fucking money, right? And so, so that will
That's
be
your
my
moaning.
It's
I had a feeling
moan.
when they said that, I'm like, oh my gosh. And not to mention, I think we talked about this. I'm a Bears fan, and you know what Green Bay says about the Bears? Well, apparently we are not the only ones they own now.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes,
Well, and the Packers, especially after last season, they had such a good season, went into the playoffs and got annihilated. So of all teams that he goes to, is the one where we were all watching going,
oh, Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry.
I know.
I just shake my head and go, man, I don't understand the plan, right?
The plan.
What's the big plan?
What
is the purpose of this in a different context, right?
Yeah.
So I did find a moan. That's that one. It's very guttural. It's just,
yeah, that's a moan.
So we'll see what happens, what comes out of it. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
I know this was a little bit deeper. We really appreciate the views and the comments. We're getting such great feedback. Don't forget, put comments in there. Let us know, or any topics that you're thinking about for us to talk about. And we hope you have a good week.
Yep.
And we will see you next time on Bitchin Moanin. Don't forget to keep bitchin' and moanin'.
Yes.
All right.
Alrighty.
Bye.